Good Yontif and Boker Tov.
Good Yontif.
It is nice to be back with you this morning. It was a rainy night, and we in the business all know what that does to individuals' decision-making process. They look out the window and think, oh, they're streaming again this year, aren't they? So for those of you who decided to put on your overcoat or find your umbrellas this morning, we're glad to have you here. For those of you who are with us virtually, we're really glad to have you as well, and it's great to be here as one big family, virtual and in person. A couple of housekeeping items I forgot to mention last night. We've got lots of exits in the room. We've got exits behind you and exits behind me and exits on both sides of the room just in case we need them. And now is a great time to silence your phone. I'll wait. I'm kidding, I won't. The story is told of a little boy who is known to have a temper. And he just suffered so much for it in his relationships, in his school life, in his family life. His temper created problems. And his father came up with a good curriculum to help him overcome this issue of temper. He took him out to the fence in the backyard with a bucket of nails. And he said, "Son, I want you to bang a nail into the fence every time you lose your temper." That first day, the boy nailed in 37 nails. But the next day, there were fewer and fewer until he was proud to approach his father and say, "Dad, I didn't bang in any nails today." And his father was thrilled. Dad said, "The next step now is every time you do something kind, instead of losing your temper, I want you to go out to the fence and I want you to pull out one of the nails." This took longer, but he looked for opportunities to do something kind instead of losing his temper. And one by one, those nails came out of the fence until he was so proud to approach his father and say, "Dad, there are no more nails left in the fence." And his dad said, "Show me." So they went out to the backyard and looked at that fence, and his dad said, "That's wonderful, son, I'm really happy. But take a look. Look at all the nail holes that are left in the fence." He said the nature of causing harm and bringing ugliness into the world is that it leaves a mark, and that we don't leave that mark behind as we grow, as we improve our own selves. Those relationships always hold on to the memory of the slight. Those personal letdowns are always a part of us. We have no mechanism through which we wash it all away and are born again. It's our tradition to keep all those nail holes. And so, my prayer for you today is that maybe you're ready to bang fewer nails into the fence this year. Maybe you'll have more luck removing nails than you are adding them. And that you'll appreciate, in fact, you'll value the nail holes that are still left in your soul, the slights that you've made against other people. They were part of you, they are, and they always will be. This morning, we embrace the entire you, and on this day of a meditation retreat you give yourselves, may you look carefully at the holes and commit to banging in fewer nails. We're going to begin our service this morning on page 135. We thank you, living and eternal one, for this morning light and for the breath within us, for strength and for life renewed. Now it opens before us, this Sabbath of Sabbaths, this gift of spacious contemplation, a mirror for the soul. We see our lives reflected in this still, clear pool, a day apart, unhurried time, an undivided mind. Give us joy in this day that Israel shares. Give us presence and attention, clear vision, a listening heart. We wake to the morning, we open our eyes, and we breathe your name. At this point, we look around in this space which is precious to us, the sticks and mortar that make up this room, And we feel the energy that fills it, our family, on this reunion of loved ones. Some we know well, some we don't, but all who make up the Sinai community. And for that purpose, we get to say, Ma Tovu. This is a beautiful space this morning. We're on page 138.
Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, V'ani berov chastecha, ahavo v'techa, eshtecha v'yel hachol kodshecha, be'yirotecha, Adonai ahavti, me'od betecha, u'mekom mishkan kevodecha, mishkan kvodecha, v'ani eshtachaveh, ve'evra, evrecha lifnei Adonai, osi, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, v'ani tefilati lecha, Adonai et rotzon, Elohim berov chastecha, Elohim berov chastecha, aneni be'emet kishecha, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Turn the page. Actually, don't bother turning the page. It'll be up on the screen. I want you to imagine this scenario. You have decided to put in your backyard an in-ground pool. So what's the first step? Of course, you go to the garage and you get your shovel, right? That's what I would do. And you start digging in the backyard, and you get down several feet, and before you know it, the shovel clinks on something hard. And you bend down and you brush away the rubble, the dirt, and the stones, and what you find is a Kiddush cup. And when you take it up and you look at it, it's dusty and dirty, and it's been in the dirt for God knows how long, and you brush off the dirt, and it starts to rumble, and a cloud comes out of the Kiddush cup, and before you know it, popping out in front of you is an angel. And he says to you, you have one wish. And then he says, and you can't wish for more wishes. What would you wish for? Psalm 27 provides an answer. It's going to be up on the screen, the setting that Chava Morel gave us. But she offers us one option. Well, not she, the psalmist. She sings it for us. What would you wish for?
Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, achat sha'alti otav akesh, achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, achat sha'alti
page 157. The gift of honor. Rabbi Ben Azai used to say, treat no one with scorn and regard nothing as useless. For all people have their moment and all things have their place. Diamonds, when found in the ground, may look like worthless pieces of glass. It takes an expert to see the precious gem that's hidden within. Become an expert in human beings. Learn to see each one as a diamond in the rough. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Blessed are you, God. You create miracles and you do magic in the creation and healing. And on page 158, an acknowledgement that we are diamonds and not in the rough.
Elohai, neshama shenatata bi, tehorai, ata verata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata neshamera bekirbi, kol zaman shehaneshama bekirbi. Moda ani lefanecha, Adonai Elohai v'Elohei avotai. Moda ani lefanecha, Adonai Elohai v'Elohei imotai. Ribon kol hama'asim, Adon kol haneshamot. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo,
asher biyado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol esayish.
On page 173, you'll feel the energy now take a step up. We've begun gently. The liturgy has us ease into this act of worship, of introspection, of prayer. And now we begin to see the steps forward.
tzadikim titbarach, ulishon chasid
In a moment, I'm going to invite those who are able to be upstanding. You know, I chose these words instead of please rise years ago. We've been using them since, but I want you to try to hear them for their deepest intent. I want you to imagine the act of standing in a moment to be reflexive of the hope for this coming year. I want you to imagine what would be necessary for you to be additionally upstanding. And so, if you're able, would you please be upstanding? On page 185, Adonai Echad, we proclaim you one. You are the one who unites all things, who links life to life in a sacred chain. The forests anchored in the soil breathe air into our lungs. Our faces are reflected in the creatures of the earth. We carry the sea within us. Our fate is connected to rivers and deserts. Our family is a many-branched tree of life. All beings intertwine with you. All are encompassed in Adonai Echad, and thus no person is an island. No soul exists apart. To say Echad is to know this truth, to see the world whole humankind undivided. Precious and holy are these words we speak. Adonai Echad, we proclaim you one. If you turn the page for the Shema, you will be in the right spot. You will have prepared all the possibilities. You've just heard the encouragement to see oneness. You've got the words in front of you. You've got the melody familiar to you. And now all that's left for you to do is to open to the idea. Take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine that you are breathing in God, that you're breathing out God, that God is next to you, God is around you, and God is in you. Take a deep breath and join us.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed.
And you can be settled. Last night, I forgot to offer a quick explanation and kavanah and invitation about the bowl of stones over to my right. Now is a good moment for me to remind those of you who haven't seen it that this is about remembering. Just like when we go to a cemetery and we place a stone on the monument of a loved one, together we're creating a monument to our loved ones. We're about to offer ve'ahavta. This speaks about teaching to our children, but as children we were taught. And so if you care to, at some point this morning, through the course of the day, come on forward and take a stone from the basket in honor, in memory of somebody who's gone but not forgotten, somebody whose blessing is still very much alive in the world because you are alive in the world. On page 188. Sorry, 189. When you love Adonai Elohecha, body and soul, these things that I ask of you will be possible.
To answer your children's questions about me and believe your answers yourselves.
To connect religion to your everyday comings and goings.
For example, when you hug them in bed at night with tender words, Shema Yisrael.
Or when you think to say Modeh Ani in the rush of getting them up and out in the morning.
To be alert enough to open doors for your children in every waking moment and when they dream.
And finally, to remember just why all these things matter.
They matter because I, Adonai Elohecha, brought you and your children out of Egypt to be God for you.
I am your God, and when you do these things, I will be your children's God. Mi Chamocha is on page 196. Summon the full focus of standing last time, maybe this is the time. Please be upstanding.
To צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amen.
198.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agite Gilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agite Gilatecha. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agite Gilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agite Gilatecha. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to pray.
200.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וכולל הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים. וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים.
מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו, מגן אברהם עזרת שרה.
אמן.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רוב להושיע, מוריד הטל.
מחלקי חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נוכלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממדרונות. ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו, לחיים ברחמים. ברוך ברוך שמו. Amen.
Page 209. Unetana Tokef. Today, we call it by its rightful name, a day of dread, Norah, Ve'ayom, an unwelcome visitor, for we want to live in a sunny world where God is love and all endings are happy.
But the drumbeat sounds and the words tumble down, and even the angels tremble with fear. For all things are judged, and all things will pass, and all life ends in a heartbeat, and death knows our name.
At the start of the year, in this season of truth, comes this day of remembrance for all that we forget and all that we deny, and we fall down on our knees in the depths of our hearts, for we know that the bell tolls for us.
The words are old and the language was theirs, but the call is real and the message is ours. Take hold of your life while you still have the chance, for your story will end, and it might be this year in a way you don't know. Take hold of your life, make things right while you can, and don't miss the call of the day of dread.
Page 214.
ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה, מעבירים את כל הגזרה.
This is a difficult piece of liturgy on the top of 214. The Hebrew, translated well, I think, into English, says, but through a return to the right path, through prayer, and through the righteous giving of tzedakah, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. On the facing page, halfway through, here's a thought. We'll read responsively. When we walk through a valley of darkness, but we find courage to live in the shadow of pain,
We transcend the harshness of the decree.
and when we speak about fear with honesty, and when we share what is hardest to say,
We transcend the harshness of the decree.
when day becomes night, but we let ourselves hope,
We transcend the harshness of the decree.
and when we feel far from caring and friendship, but let go of pride to ask for help,
We transcend the harshness of the decree.
when in grief we're crushed by the absence of love, but we open ourselves to your presence,
We transcend the harshness of the decree.
on page 218.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech haaretz, levodo.
Stay on our feet for one more moment as we turn to page 244. Here we find the priestly benediction, and many years ago, 150 or so, the Reform movement saw it fit to lift the other elements of the Jewish community to be on par with how much we value our Kohanim, our priests. Left over from the days of the temple, where the priests had a specific role. In some communities, they still do. But in the Reform world, the progressive Jewish world, all of us are God's priests. So, in this point in the service, the Kohanim used to lift their hands, with their hands making the sign of the Shin, the letter that starts God's name, Shaddai, and they would hold their hands out and become conduits of blessing to spread out over the congregation. Well, in this moment of do-it-yourself Judaism, I need you all to become the priests. And so put your prayer book on the seat behind you. And if you can't make your hands into the sign of the Shin, get some help from the person next to you. And lift your hands as we offer these blessings, Hebrew and English, finishing each one with Ken Yehi Ratzon. Let it be God's will. May God keep and protect each and every one of us as we say, Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this moment teach you a moment of calm, of comfort, an enduring sense of ease as we say, Ken Yehi Ratzon. And as we feel God's face looking on us, may we feel shalom, a wholeness, a completion, which will leave us at peace. As we say one last time, Ken Yehi Ratzon. And you may be settled. We'll take some time now for some silent reflection, some prayer, some introspection in the coming pages or just in your heart. I just told Cantor Micah we're going to rearrange the whole service. And so she's working that through in her head. It's what I do. Good Yontif. Some of you will know the place that I'm about to refer to, but there was a vegetarian Indian restaurant on Washington Street opposite Mill River Park for several years. I never knew how to pronounce the name. It had an awful lot of letters. So I always just called it the Veggie Indian Place on Washington. I'm seeing some nodding heads. Some of you remember the place, yeah? It wouldn't have been a problem, except that the restaurant wasn't mediocre. It was good. In fact, it was my favorite Indian food, I think, ever. And so I found it necessary to refer to this place quite often when I was suggesting it to others. Parking was never an obstacle, and neither was finding a table. In fact, I don't recall ever seeing more than one other table of patrons there when I was eating there. And so I shouldn't have been surprised, though I was deeply disappointed when the place went out of business. The loss of something that I valued leaves me yearning for the good old days. I've tried other places around town, and while they're okay, they're just not the Veggie Indian Place on Washington Street. Sometimes I just choose to go with the easy place down the block. For instance, our Asian restaurant is by no means fabulous. Often, it's not even all that good. But it's familiar, and it's easier, and some days I just don't seem to have the energy to go any further. And then other days, even though I know that the French fries at Layla's are my absolute favorite, I will still order fries at other places. Who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised by a new favorite. But usually they're just underwhelming. And so I ask you, why would I ever go someplace new if I knew that there's far less risk in simply sticking with a meal that I know I already like? I will tell you why. It's because I'm a Zionist. Let me explain. The Jewish Bible uses the word Zion 152 times. Its meaning is varied, and it falls into different categories. Sometimes it refers to one of the 3 hills that make up Jerusalem. And sometimes it's the whole city of Jerusalem, or the whole Israelite kingdom. But then in later texts, we find that its meaning is expanded to name the mystical place related to the Messiah. It's the place from which God will open up the opportunity for future perfection. That's why we'll soon call our children up to the bima, and we'll sing the words, Ki mi Tzion tetzei Torah, because out of Zion will come the perfection of Torah. We'll surround our kids, the quintessential symbol of our hope, with that energy of our optimism about the future. Our tradition teaches that God has already tried twice to introduce the potential for perfection into this world during the times of the first 2 temples, now destroyed. And we're told that the 3rd temple refers to that moment when the glorious vision will become a reality someday. And using Zion as a metaphor for a better future isn't just found in Judaism. Others have absorbed it too. Rastafarianism, best known through the music of Bob Marley, references Zion all over its material. The American slaves employed Zion as an image that they conjured to dream of a future where they would know redemption from their oppressive reality. The biblical book of Isaiah predicts that in a place called Zion, God will someday set up a cornerstone for a new reality. And Islam understands that cornerstone to be the Kaaba in Mecca. Christians use the same verse, but they insist that that cornerstone is referring to Jesus. And one last modern example, the Matrix movies. Okay, some of you chuckled, you know. They portray a dystopic underground fortress named Zion, from which humans fight for the uncertain future because their lives depend on it. Zion has remained a timeless symbol for various wandering peoples of the longing that they feel for something better than they have now. One of the most beautiful documents I have ever read was written by a group of men who felt this way. Life had become untenable, and they found in each other comrades who shared their belief that not only was it reasonable to expect something more out of life, but that they could do something about it. The Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel was pronounced and signed in this room. And for those of you who've traveled to Tel Aviv and stood in that hall, perhaps you've felt, like I have, the residual vibration of hope and of conviction that was present on May 14th, 1948, the day it was signed. My favorite part of this relatively short document reads, "The State of Israel will be open for Jewish immigration and for the ingathering of the exiles. It will foster the development of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social, political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of race, religion, and sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It will safeguard the holy places of all religions, and it will be faithful to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations." Sounds like a great place. A couple of years ago, Israeli journalist Yossi Klein Halevi defined a democratic and Jewish Israel as a place that must be a state for all the Jews, even those not its citizens, and a state for all its citizens, even those who are not Jews. Our traditions are at their best when they assure us that we have the right to expect better and to motivate us to apply ourselves to its creation. So, while I have playfully used the term Zionism to describe this lover of French fries who goes about searching for the messianically perfect version, it has long been associated with the hope for a substantive change in the world that has yet to be realized. That's why the classical Jewish Zionism of the 19th century, which took so many different forms, were all associated with a fresh start. There were the religious Zionists who believed that it was their responsibility to be in the Holy Land when God decided that it was time to reset the world with the delivery of the Messiah. And then there were the secular Zionists who believed that there was a better way for humans to live together in cooperation. They insistently built their belief into reality, and the outcome of their dreams was the kibbutz. An institution of early Israeli culture, the kibbutz movement cannot be overstated in its importance to the creation, transmission, and development of today's modern state. And let's not forget the Zionism of the Tevyas of the world, who were simply tired of living at the whim of whichever king, caliph, czar, or dictator happened to hold power over us. This manner of dreamer pined for a place where they could live and let live, wanting nothing special other than life, liberty, and the pursuit of meaning. These three groups of Zionists all believed that a better life was possible and was a reasonable hope. And they all focused that effort on the land known at that time as Palestine, which represented that possibility. They were building something for their children that none of them had ever seen. And they were unwilling to let the odds dissuade them from the challenge of making it into a reality. Zionism, then, is that human commitment to the dream of a better future. Take a moment and conjure the image of something in your mind, in your experience, that turned out not to live up to your dreams. Maybe it was a dream home that you found out just a little late was built on a toxic waste dump. Maybe it was the new job that you find out later was oversold in ways that would have been nice to know before acceptance. Maybe it was the lover, the partner, the friend, or the neighbor who turned out to be a lesser person than you thought. Your trust was violated, your safety was sacrificed, or your self-worth was attacked. I'm trying to remind you how it feels to be let down by something to which you had assigned importance. In some of those examples, you probably just settled into the disappointment and lived with it. While in other cases, you chose to fight for what you believed was reasonable. Sometimes you could do so from within the job or the relationship, and sometimes you had to extricate yourself to start fresh. Who taught you to hope? What fighters for good inspire you? Who gets you to believe in a future that others are not willing or ready to see? These visionaries refuse to accept the status quo as sufficient. They push you to see that you're allowed to expect and, in fact, to fight for something better. And that future, that better future, is reasonable. And I call it Zion. I have detached the term Zion from the state of Israel. And I've returned it to its original meaning, the biblical notion that it is not crazy to believe that a better reality exists ahead of us. Therefore, I'm telling you that your commitment to that change is called Zionism. And if you're someone who's inspired by the notion, I want you to try calling yourself a Zionist. This has been a very difficult year for Israel. And while I'm not going to go into great depth or explanation at the moment, I am going to give a quick summary of some of the salient matters that are good to know or to hear again at this point. In the earliest days of Israel's formation, David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister, needed the broadest Jewish support, and so he entered into the so-called status quo agreement with the Jewish Agency and the ultra-Orthodox extreme minority, promising that Israel would never infringe on any element of Jewish law. Effectively, he handed over decision-making for all religious matters to the ultra-Orthodox, which he considered to be a small concession, considering they would be an extinct reality in a short matter of time. 75 years later, and we have a real problem now between the two populations in Israel. The ultra-Orthodox, who did not, in fact, disappear and who believe that the country should be guided by the strictest interpretations of Jewish law, and the remaining 87% of the country, who would prefer a more modern approach to democracy. The issue in the news today has to do with the fact that 75 years after its founding, Israel still has not gotten around to the establishment of a constitution of laws. Instead, they rely on a set of about 20 basic laws that are wildly vague and easy for any sitting government to change with a simple majority of one vote in the Knesset. In fact, they have changed the basic laws 23 times in the last 5 years alone. That's like us adding amendments to our Constitution. Most recently, after 3 failed elections, we saw the creation of the most extreme right-wing government coalition that Israel has ever seen. With power consolidated, as it currently is, into the barest of majority, this unstable coalition of parties has used the opportunity to make dramatic changes that have led to the current crisis. And while they continue to create a slew of offenses against non-Orthodox Jews, the queer community, the female half of humanity, and the Arab residents of Israel, and on, at the center of the matter is the fact that Israel's government was designed without the kinds of checks and balances that we rely upon in the U.S. Their Supreme Court has, until now, had the ability to overrule and veto any laws made by the Knesset that its judges decided were unreasonable. Reasonableness is a very difficult to define legal term, and it's open to broad interpretation, and therefore overuse. And it means that the will of the people, as expressed through their elected representatives of parliament, might not be enacted because of the oversized and unchecked power of a few magistrates. For this reason, the reform of the judiciary in Israel was seen as overdue by a huge majority of the populace, but not in the way that it's taken place. The proposed changes will not lead to a better reality for the largest portion of Israeli citizens. I am a Zionist, but what I see in Israel today is not Zion. And this is what has led to unprecedented protests. Unprecedented, in fact, in the history of the world. Proof of this is seen nowhere more convincingly than the weekly protests in Israel. Every single Saturday night, without exception, for the last 38 weeks, tens of thousands of people in Jerusalem and hundreds of thousands of people, protesters in Tel Aviv, have gathered to voice their upset. Not only those on one side of the argument, it seems just about every single Israeli is upset about the state of things. And not just in Israel. Those of us around the world who care and are paying close attention and are upset to our core in the diaspora here as well. This is a picture of the protest outside the United Nations building in New York City this past Friday. Thousands of people who are upset gathered to express that about the situation in Israel. It is not hyperbole to pose the real question of whether Israel's democracy will survive this moment. But here I offer the perspective of the journalist and the political commentator Haviv Gur, who says that with every new crisis, he grows more optimistic. He says that these issues are of existential importance and they must be dealt with. He says, if now is the time, then so be it. But Gur does not offer soft words of comfort. He's warning that things will get more difficult before they get better. And neither does he predict with any confidence that Israel's democracy will even survive this harrowing moment in its maturation. His point is that if we don't now address matters of religious coexistence and racial coexistence and national coexistence, then they will continue to plague the country. This is an essential part of any country growing up. And Israel is simply that, a young country with a tapestry of opinions led by humans who are, by definition, flawed. The names that you hear in the news, alongside the corrupted leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu, include Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. These two are the most racist, the most despotic voices in the fray. But they represent only about 2% of the Israelis who voted. Just as we know all too well back here at home, the voices of those with the most ridiculous opinions on the extreme fringe seem to get the most attention, while the far more significant portion of the populace in the middle wrings its hands, seemingly not to realize just how much power it actually has. I will be deeply devastated if Israel is destroyed again, this time from within. But I won't give up, because we Zionists are playing the long game. It would not surprise me that there are some of you listening to the kinds of challenges facing Israel and thinking to yourselves, wow, it sounds like he could be describing the U.S. Racism, classism, homophobia, and ideological divides are stretching us at the seams here at home too. The painful differences of opinion of passionate, patriotic Americans are on matters that have been simmering beneath the surface for so long that we finally got tired of pretending they weren't there. Decades of marginalization in Israel and centuries in the States are now being placed upon the table for address. Every ounce of pain that's being expressed is real and cannot be swept under the rug. As a Jewish community, it's helpful to remember that the essence of our Jewish history is one of fighting back. We've done so in 100 different ways. We have never simply accepted what was handed us without imposing our influence on the situation. Not even when the voice of the oppressing power was God's voice. Abraham argued against God for the decree of destruction for Sodom and Gomorrah. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai audaciously pressed the Caesar to save Judaism from destruction in the year 70. In Shushan, Queen Esther bravely stood up to the power of Haman's xenophobia. During the Inquisition, our rabbis bravely entered into disputations with the Catholic religious authorities to defend our beliefs. And every time our ancestors experienced the expulsion from wherever they happened to be living, upon arriving in the new land, they immediately looked for what they could contribute in their new home. Thankfully, the early Zionists recognized the limitation of life in Europe, and they got to work encouraging Jewish migration in the 1880s. This meant that Israel was largely in place just in time to offer some refuge to the survivors of the Shoah. You can call it Jewish pragmatism or this survival instinct, but it requires several elements. It requires hope and stamina and sacrifice and patience and the right balance of flexigidity. And as I said before, it requires the core belief that there's a better option to be created, also known as Zionism. As members of the Jewish community in the diaspora, we embody that refusal to throw up our hands and surrender. With a collective hineni, we are stating we are here and we will do our part. As hard as it is, we stay focused on what we believe is possible, both in Israel and here at home in America. And this is not the naivety of dreamers. There are those voices that are working for a better future. These are the voices that believe Theodore Herzl when he urged us, saying, "If you will it, it is no dream." Why? Because the alternatives are simply too horrible to consider. No superhero is going to come swooping in to save Israel from our stiff-necked selves. It's tempting for us to turn our back on the problem and run, to reject an Israel whose current leadership rejects our Jewish relevance. But I'm going to urge you to choose a different way of approaching the stress of this difficult moment. Imagine that you're back is up against the wall. I want you to embrace the feeling that you have no other choice. I want you to heed Hillel's encouragement when he says, in a place where no one else is acting like a mensch, then you should act like a mensch. Israel is the only Jewish state out there. It's a place where dreamers created the best likeness of their dreams, and then they left us to continue the project. It has been a beacon to the world of what is possible. And with all of its imperfections, it is still better than any other Jewish state that I know of. I am a Zionist because I know that we can realize that hope of 2,000 years, that Eretz Zion, the land of Zion. This is an important statement for those of you who have hope, to be able to say, I am a Zionist. And I ask you to join me in proclaiming it. I'm proud that I can say with great confidence that I am a Zionist. We can expect better, and we'll work to be a part of it. I know that there are a few of you who see me as a naive idealist, but I'm not. I am a pragmatist. What I'm demanding is that we stick with it and that we go further than just dreaming of a better time, that we roll up our sleeves to work for that vision. I want all of you to join me and other Zionists who know that a better Israel and a better world is possible. My local Reform colleagues and I are creating a local learn-in style protest in the coming weeks in which we will protest on behalf of democracy within the Israeli state. It is the most immediate way available for us to get off the sidelines and to make ourselves heard. Remember, throwing up your hands and accepting the unacceptable, it simply isn't Jewish. We have no other choice. Ein li acheret. We have no other land. Good Yontif.
אחרת, גם אם אדמתי בוערת רק, מילה בעברית חודרת אל אורכי, אל נשמתי, בגוף כואב, בלב רעב, כאן הוא ביתי. אשתוק כי ארצי שינתה את פניה, לא אוותר להזכיר לה ואשיר כאן באוזניה עד שתפקח את עיניה. אין לי ארץ אחרת, גם אם אדמתי בוערת רק, מילה בעברית חודרת אל אורכי, אל נשמתי, בגוף כואב, בלב רעב, כאן הוא ביתי. לא אשתוק כי ארצי שינתה את פניה, לא admati borat rak mila bevrit choderet el urkai el nishmati beguf koev ben levraev kan hu beti lo eshtok kirtzishinta et paneha lo avatel askir lave ashir kan behoz laha ad shetif kach et eneha.
Let me explain a few of the changes I was referring to a few minutes ago. Last week, we did a hakafa with our kids who were brought up at this point for Avinu Malkeinu and the Torah service and shofar, but it felt like the kids spent a little long in the main room and got a little antsy with their shpilkus, and so we're going to do Avinu Malkeinu and get started in the Torah service. And at some point, when Mora Erica downstairs with her 70 kids have run out of things to do, they're going to join us. And so we're going to move the hakafa, the parade, to the end of the Torah service, which is also traditional, so that they can join us in that. They love that. I love that, really, let's be honest. And so when we take the scroll out, we're just going to undress it and move right into the Torah service itself. But we're back in our prayer books, and if you're able, we're going to be on page 253, and I invite you to be upstanding.
I don't know, you changed the order.
Adonai hagedula, hagedula,
be settled. You can follow along in your machzor on, do you know what page?
I'm working on it.
Our first aliyah in the book of Deuteronomy is being read by Ed Greenberg. And our first aliyah, I'd like to invite up, and listen, because this might be you. I'd like to invite up all of you who had something wonderful happen this last year. Some of you had new grandkids or great-grandkids born. Some of you went to a bar or bat mitzvah that mattered. Some of you got a new job. Some of you got married. Some of your kids got married. If you had something worth celebrating this past year in 5783, come on up and let us honor that with you. Ya'amdu kol hasmechim la'aliyah la'torah.
And the Torah reading can be found on page 266.
There we go. Attendance of him. Uh-huh. Oh, this is great.
You have to come stand next to me.
All right. All right, are you ready? Or became about mitzvah, yeah. See?
Not this year, 2 years ago.
Really? Oh gosh. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem roshechem shiftechem zignechem v'shodrechem kol ish Yisrael tabchem noshechem v'geirecho asher bekerev machanecha Mechotei veitzecho ad shoev memecho leavrecho bivrit Adonai Elohecho ulochto asher Adonai Elohecho koreitimcho hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
For all of you up here with us, may you stand with us again next Yom Kippur. And for the rest of you, may you have good reasons to stand with us up here when I invite this group up again next Yom Kippur. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations and mazel tov. Our second aliyah will be read by Diane Klein. And there was some lack of clarity that was, well, I wish I could blame it on someone else, but it was all my fault last week. When I invited those who volunteer, someone said, was that just in Temple Sinai, or was that in the community at large? Because he would have come up. And I said, of course, it was meant for everybody, those who volunteer. But this time, I'll be more clear. For those who've served as board members, past and present, who have given more than the average amount of time to Temple Sinai, we want to thank you. And this is, of course, our way of seeing who we might get back up here again in the future for another board round. But for all of you who've served Temple Sinai as board members, anytime in the past, we'd like you to come up and join the current board in standing here for an aliyah. Ya'amdu kol hamanchigim leTemple Sinai la'aliyah shniha.
Amen. Leman hakim otecha hayom lo le'am vehu yehye lecha le'elohim ka'asher diber lach וכאשר נשבע לאבותיך, לאברהם, ליצחק ויעקב. ולא איתכם לבדכם, אנוכי כורת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת, כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו, ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
And I'm looking at the group, and I would like most of you back on the board sometime soon. I'm kidding. That's my sense of humor. Oh my God. Thank you so much, everyone, for your service. The third aliyah is a special one. And I've been told that I should invite this group up carefully, because some may not want to be recognized at all. Others may choose to stand in their seat, but others want to come all the way up here. The group that I'm referring to are those who have been members of Temple Sinai for 50 years or more. So for those of you who are in the room who can join us and let us shower you with our admiration, we'd invite you to please join us. The third aliyah is going to be read by David Todron.
What are you laughing about?
I just haven't sat down in a while.
Would you like a yawn?
Oh, sorry, I'm just a little verklempt. Ya'amdu habonim b'Temple Sinai la'aliyah shlishi. Baruch et Adonai hamborach. Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום, לא נפלאת היא ממך ולא רחוקה היא, לא בשמיים היא, לאמור מי יעלה לנו השמיימה ויקחך לנו וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה, ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור, מי יעבר לנו אל עבר הים, ויקחיה לנו, וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה. כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד, בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. ראה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב ואת המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ובמשפטיו, והיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה ושמה לרשתה.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. I wonder how many of you, with a show of hands, will be able to join this group in the next 5 years? How many of you, keep your hands up, how many of you will be able to join this group in the next 10 years? How many of you will join this group in 20 years? How many of you will join this group in 40 years? How many of you will join this group in 49 years? Well, I do that one seriously because raise your hands one more time, folks. The 49 years group. These are all of our newest family members, and we're so glad you're here. And we hope that those of you who didn't have a chance to raise your hand might find inspiring the group of people behind me. This is what building looks like. These folks have built this place for us, and we could not say thank you in any more deep and genuine way. And yes, Betty is actually only 53 years old. She joined when she was a little baby. Thank you, everybody. Our fourth aliyah is going to be read by Jane Schiff. And this group is another precious group who's also building for our future. This is the group of people who are and have been circle leaders. I don't know how many circles we've run at this point, but a lot. If you've been responsible for making one of those groups happen as a circle leader, we'd like you to come up because you're the ones who are ensuring this next generation of Sinai is strong and vibrant. Ya'amdu manchigim legilgale Sinai la'aliyah revi'i.
No.
Okay, out in the hall? Gotcha.
30 of them out there. There's 50 more.
Oh, jeez.
Are they going to come walking in during my?
No. We'll wait till you're finished.
Amitai, get up here.
That's right. How many times?
Come on. Come on. go. All right.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
It's not flat enough. Amen. Vayim yifnei levavaha velo tishma v'nidachta v'hishtahavita le'Elohim aherim va'avdatam. Ha'idoti lahem hayom ki avod tovedun lo tarehun yamim al ha'adama asher ata over et hayarden lavo shamo larishta ha'idoti vahem hayom et hashamayim va'et ha'aret ha'hayim v'hamavet natati lafaneha habaraha bahakalala uvahartam vayim lamantiye ata vizareha lahava et Adonai Eloheha lishmo bokolo uldov kavo ki hu hayeha ve'aretz yameha lishmo ve al hadama asher nishba Adonai la'avoteha la'avraham le'yitzhak u'Yaakov latet lahem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Those of you who are past circle leaders, please do not give any sour warnings to those who are just starting. They don't know how hard it's going to be. They don't know how difficult this group is. Just let them think it's going to be easy, smooth sailing all the way through. Thank you for everything you do for Temple Sinai's present and future. Yasher Koach. Thank you, everyone. I've gotten a little paranoid since Dennis pointed out that when I turned around, my tallis was awfully close to the Shiva candle.
Thinking that too.
And this is my great-grandfather's 110-year-old tallis. It'll go up like that. Tweet, tweet, tweet. I know. All right. So, we're bringing in our little ones. And they're coming right on up to the bema. Mark, you can direct them all this direction on up here. And as we get ready, maybe you guys will put the Heal Us Now up on the screen here. We're going to offer a prayer of healing. So, with the joy and energy of these 70 or whatever little ones coming in, let's use it to lift our prayers of healing even higher. Take a moment and identify in your mind your loved ones, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your sworn enemies who need your love, who need your prayer. And let's offer it to them with the words of Heal Us Now with a full open heart.
Rafa'enu Adonai v'nirafeh, Hoshienu v'nivashea, El karov l'chol karov, ach karov l'reav isho. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of the flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Oh, please heal us now. 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 Hoshia et amecha, uvarech et nachalatecha, ureim v'naseim ad haolam. Mishaberach avotenu, Mishaberach imotenu, Ana Adonai Hoshiana. We pray for healing of our people. We pray for healing of the land and peace for every race and nation, every child, every woman, every man. Oh, please heal us now. Please heal
All right, kids, are there any of you up here who are really good runners? Yeah? Okay. Oh my gosh. Are there any of you who can jump super high? Okay. Anybody really good with reading? Good. Anybody an excellent artist? Okay, good. So what I want you to see is that each of you have a set of skills. certain things are easier for you than they are for other people. And what we're about to do in a moment is, Cantor Micah is going to lift up the Torah so that everyone can see the words inside. And what you're going to see is that everybody out there, well, I don't know about everybody, some people out there, and me, and maybe you, we're going to take our pinky finger, and we're going to hold it up like this. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can manage that. Pinky? Oh, yeah, that was easy for you. We're going to hold it up like this because the tradition says that when Moses was hanging out with God up on Mount Sinai, God carved the 10 Commandment tablets out of stone using fire that shot out of God's pinky finger. Carving stone is easy for God. You have what's easy for you. And God needs us to do our part. So, is everybody ready with their pinky finger? Okay. You all ready with the pinky finger? If you're able, please be upstanding. And you can be settled. those of you sitting right in the middle of the room who got here early to get great seats, having every reason to expect that the Torah would have come right past you. That'll teach you. You'll show up an hour late and you'll sit in the cheap seats and you'll get the Torah. I'm teasing. I'm going to have to bang my chest one extra time for that one. Did we come out with any extra kids?
Anybody missing any?
Okay. I'd say we did well. We're going to begin now the elements of this service that many people think of as the core of Yom Kippur. It is that time where we own it, where we beat our chest and we lower ourselves for a while, and then we lift ourselves a little higher. We're going to begin with a modern form of vidui, which you can find up on the screen. Take a deep breath. Because I was angry. Because I didn't think. Because I was exhausted and on edge. Because I'd been drinking. Because I can be mean. Because I was reckless and selfish. Because I was worried about money. Because my marriage was dead. Because other people were doing it. Because I thought I could get away with it. Because I did something wrong. Because I'm in pain. Because I wish I could undo it. Because I hurt him. Because I lost her trust. Because I let them down. Because I was self-destructive. Because I was foolish. Because I'm ashamed. Because that's not who I am. Because that's not who I want to be. Because I want to be forgiven. Adonai, bring down my walls of defensiveness and my self-righteousness. Help me to stay in that place of humility. Please give me the strength to do what's right. And this again is that energy of begging that we heard last night. God, Shema Kolenu, hear our voice, heed us.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hu Zerachem Aleinu, V'kabel berachamim, Uvratzon et tfilatenu. Won't you hear our voice above all the noise, and have mercy on our souls? We are in your care. Won't you hear our prayer and forgive us? Forgive us. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hu Zerachem Aleinu. When we've lost our way, give us one more day to return to what is true. Won't you take us in so we can begin a new year? Won't you please hear? Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hu Zerachem Aleinu, V'kabel berachamim, Uvratzon et tfilatenu.
On page 296. This is the short form of the confession. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, don't be indifferent. God, we are arrogant and stubborn. We claim to be blameless and free of sin, but in truth, we've stumbled and strayed, and we've done wrong. Now, we've got lots of kids in the room who are going to join us in putting our fist on our chest. But as we look at that list of things on the misbehaviors, I don't know about you, but I look at that list and I think to myself, wait a second, I didn't do all these. I don't think I committed any crimes this year. I don't think I abused anyone. I definitely didn't kill anybody. Okay, I am stubborn. That's true. Sometimes I'm hostile. Okay, so there are some things on here that do apply to me. But there are things on here that apply to all of us. And we're all going to say it together. Because as one big family, we're kind of responsible for each other, aren't we? If someone next to us is behaving badly, maybe we can help them do a little better. And so, even if you didn't do all this stuff, boys and girls of all ages, put your hand on your chest and listen to the melody. It sings almost in an upbeat, joyful way about all these things we've done wrong. Maybe the melody is meant to lift us into that place right between embarrassment and hope. Let's sing along. Now, on page 300, we're going to continue in silence. And if you've got a child next to you, of any age for that matter, perhaps you'll look for opportunities to point out something in the text, something that they can reflect on with you. And if you don't have a kid nearby, find your inner kid and teach yourself what the text is saying to you. We'll take a few moments of silence as we make our way through the Al Chet Shechatanus.
Want to do some more?
On page 307, the observant of you will notice the acrostic form, just like the Asham knew before. But before we engage in that, I want to reassure you that based on the kavanah, on the facing page at the very bottom, from the Talmud, Rabbi Abahu tells us that the person who, he says, Bal Tshuva, the one who returns to a sense of repentance, is the one who can stand in a place that not even the blameless can stand. In other words, what he's teaching is that it's not even preferable in God's mind for a person to be perfect, to be an angel their whole lives, and to not know what temptation or sin is. It's actually preferable to have been there and to have lifted yourself out, to have brought yourself closer to the mark, the target that you wish to hit for your own life. So, if you found something in the Ashamnu, or you found something in the Al Chetz, or you're about to find something in this modern Vidui that applies to you, that's good. It means you've got some work to do, and that's a privilege. On page 307, we confess our sins against the earth. We commit ourselves to saving it. And we say together, we have assaulted our planet in countless ways. We have blamed others for the spiraling, deepening crisis. We have consumed thoughtlessly and irresponsibly. We have driven myriad species to the point of extinction. We have exhausted irreplaceable resources. We have failed to transcend borders and act unselfishly. We have given in to our many appetites and our gluttony. We have harmed beyond repair the habitats of living beings. We have ignored the signs of change in our climate and our seasons. We have jeopardized the well-being of future generations. We have known the problem, but left problem solving to others. We have lost sight of our role as God's partners in creation. We have mocked, cynically, those who love creatures great and small. We have neglected the environment, most of all in places of poverty. We have overpopulated our cities and overfished our oceans. We have polluted seashore and sky, fertile soil and freshwater springs. We have questioned and doubted solid evidence of danger. We have ravaged the old-growth forests, ecosystems created over centuries. We have spewed poison into the bloodstream of our land, its rivers, lakes, and estuaries. We have transformed dazzling beauty into industrial ugliness. We have used shared resources for personal gain and corporate profit. We have violated the commandment, do not destroy. We have wasted precious treasures, our God-given gifts. We have exploited the weakness and most vulnerable in our midst, and yet we yearn to be better guardians of this earth and the fullness thereof. Let us be zealous now to care for this unique corner of the cosmos, this planet, our sacred home. Ainli Eretz Acheret, we have no other land.
Am I there for those who need me? Giving of my heart completely. Have I been caring and have I been patient? Have I forgiven without reservation?
Do I take my days for granted? Treated others even-handed? And shown compassion to the homeless stranger? Have I been humble before my Creator? Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam. Have I tread lightly on the planet? Have I held fast to your commandment? And have I raised my voice against injustice? Have I been giving or have I been selfish? Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechal lanu, kabel lanu ve'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechal lanu, kabel lanu ve'al kulam. Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam. Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo haslichot ve'al kulam.
I believe I said something to this effect last Yom Kippur, but I'll repeat myself because it is really important to me. Through the centuries of our people, in a different era of a sense of self, with different understandings about psychology, and certainly different parenting techniques, we modeled our liturgy on Yom Kippur on what was familiar. How would a parent get his child in line? How would a parent keep her kid focused on what should be happening? We do it differently today, and so we need a different liturgy. You won't find the coming liturgy well, maybe the next one, but not the one after that, in Seder Rav Amram, a prayer book from the 10th century. It's not there. Because while we take a moment, and yes, we confess and we admit and we own the hard parts of who we are, it is important, we know today, to honor the parts of ourselves that are worth a lot. And so, on 310, as we turn this energy again to Ki Anu Amecha, reminding God that we are your people. Remember us? Right here. Here we are. And then we'll go on to Hakarat HaTov. Yes, Vidui, we have sinned, but God, let us tell you about some of the things we've also done that are good.
Ki anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu, anu va'amecha ve'ata avinu, anu nachalatecha ve'ata goraleinu.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people, and you are our God. We're your children, and you're our father, our mother. We're the people who serve you, and you call us to serve. We're your community. You are our portion. We are your legacy. You are our purpose. We're your flock, and you are the shepherd. We're your vineyard, and you watch over us. We are your work, and you are the maker. We are your beloved, and you are the lover. We are your treasure, and you are the one who we cherish. We are your people, and you reign over us. We offer you our words, and you offer us yours. So forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. And now, we're going to read this together, though it's cacophonous, because it's that important on page 313. This is where we get to defend ourselves a little bit. Now, you won't all have done all of these, but someone nearby hopefully has. For every act of goodness we say, let us affirm the good we've done. Let us acknowledge our acts of healing and repair. For the good that we've done by acting with self-restraint and self-control. For the good that we've done through acts of generosity and compassion. For the good that we've done by offering children our love and support. For the good that we have done by honoring our parents with care and respect. For the good that we've done through acts of friendship and hospitality. For the good that we've done through acts of forgiveness and reconciliation. For the good that we have done by keeping promises and honoring commitments. For the good that we have done through the work of our hands and by serving others. For the good that we have done by caring for the earth and sustaining its creatures. For the good that we have done by housing the homeless, feeding the hungry, and welcoming the stranger. For the good that we have done by acting with integrity and honesty. For the good that we have done through thoughtful and encouraging words. For the good that we have done by caring for our health and that of our loved ones. For the good that we have done by strengthening our Jewish community. For the good that we have done through acts of civic engagement and tikkun olam. All these have brought light and healing into the world. May these acts inspire us to renew our efforts in the year to come. We are drawing close to the end of this morning's service. I'm going to invite Grant Callan, who's our Vice President of Membership, to join us for some announcements. And as you've heard from others before him, they're getting shorter.
Gamar Tov. I would like to thank all of our members who have served in our team of ushers and who have made this all possible. And thank you to everyone who brought donations of food for this holiday season. It is greatly appreciated by the recipients of services and by the professionals of the food pantries of the Shoki Family Services, the Faith Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church in Stamford, and Person to Person. As the Rabbi said, my name is Grant Callan. I'm the Vice President of Membership, and I can tell you, we are growing. We are getting stronger. There's so much going on in Sinai these days. I would be happy to talk with you anytime to help you find your own connection to this fabulous community. Please connect with me or Larry Stajenki, Director of Congregational Engagement, and we'll be happy to help you. Following the conclusion of this service, we hope you'll join us for additional ways to create meaningful moments. At 12:45, congregants might choose to remain here in the sanctuary, enjoy the contemplative music presented by Alex Rubenstein on piano, or join Rabbi Jay in the Greenberg Chapel for an introduction and conversation about non-dual Judaism and spirituality. At 1 o'clock, Amy Lillian will lead a Zentangle session over Zoom. Note that this is a virtual-only program intended for those who prefer to head home after the services. You can find a link on your email that's been sent out over the last 2 days. At 1:45, Betsy Stone will lead a text study in the Greenberg Chapel on the Unatakatoka prayer, which will focus on living our lives through our fears. At 3:30 this afternoon services will begin in this room, and from there you can refer to the schedule in the back of your ticket. At the conclusion of this service, we ask that those of you sitting in the front section of the sanctuary bring your prayer books with you and then stack them on the windowsills as you leave the sanctuary to help us reset for the family service this afternoon. Others you can just leave in your seats. Gamar Tov, and if you're fasting this year, may it be a meaningful fast.
So we're finishing services a little bit earlier than I expected we would. Cantor wanted us to just fill the time with more prayers. I don't think they're going for it. So we're just going to reset that schedule slightly. The idea was that we were going to give 15 minutes or so from the end of services until the next piece started. So if you're planning to remain in this room for musical meditations with Alex, that'll begin at 12:15, not 12:45. And if you're planning to go across the building to the Greenberg Family Chapel with me, same thing, it'll begin at 12:15. And for those who don't know, the ushers can point you, but it's straight across the building and up a couple of stairs. And then everything else after that will stay on the schedule as listed. And just a reminder, those in the front part of the room on the comfy chairs, just put your prayer books on the windowsill on your way out. Everyone else, leave them on your chairs when we're done. With that, we turn to page 319. In humble linen garments, the priests once stood at the altar, and so now we stand in humility to lift up our offering to you. Would you please be upstanding? It is written in the Torah, each morning the Kohen shall take up the ashes left from the night's offering and remove them from the altar. Thus begins the service of a new day. And our sages teach, clear away the debris of the past, begin anew. Complacency and despair are the enemies of hope. Each day summons us to start again. The fire on the altar must never die out. Tend it with care, keep the sacred flame alive, and so also should the spirit be sustained and preserved. This day, we nourish ourselves with Torah and prayer, and tomorrow, we return to the world. Our energies replenished, our commitments renewed. Tomorrow, we go forth to serve the Most High. In small ways, in all ways, let us align ourselves with the good, our minds and our hearts and our hands all devoted to tikkun. In humility, then, we stand here this day, Hayom, hoping to lift up our lives and persevere through life's trials. Hayom, let us gain strength today from one another. Hayom, today, let us gain strength from the tradition we share. Hayom, let this day be a retreat, a meditational practice that shows us what our next step is. On page 318, we have the closing song if you'd like to follow along.
Hayom tehamzeinu.
Amen.
Hayom,
Hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom.
hayom tevorcheinu.
Amen.
Hayom,
Hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom.
hayom tegodleinu.
Amen. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom, hayom, hayom. Hayom.
Tidrashenu l'tova.
Amen.
If you are fasting Hayom, may it be a meaningful exercise, and may everyone have a good Yontif.
Because we cut out Haftarah and didn't put really anything in. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's fine.
yeah.
I mean, at 2.5 hours of this.
I didn't hear anyone complaining about it.